everyone. Welcome to the Femme Tell All podcast. My name is Madison Bellissimo.
And I'm Ruth Devereaux.
And we're so happy you're here.
We're happy.
Why did I turn into a radio announcer?
Do you want to do it like this?
I don't know what that was, but I loved that. We are here, though. We're back. And today's episode is about last words.
Yeah.
Like talking about grief, talking about...
But last words in a multitude of different ways. The reason this came up is because... recently I was on a call with Neil and my producing partner called me and I quickly got off the phone with Neil and I heard as I was hanging up, he was saying, I love you. And it just clicked off really quick. And then I came back and I called him back and I felt so bad. I was like, I'm so sorry I didn't say I love you. And he was like, I just want us to make sure that we're always saying that to each other before we leave each other, because you never know what can happen. And he's like, you're driving right now. What if something were to happen? And the last thing we said to each other was a quick goodbye. And I thought that was so poignant. And now he's made it such like a big part of our relationship that even when we're at the gym and we're separating to go to the bathroom, he goes, I love you. I love you. And so it just made me start thinking about appreciation for the people in my life and making sure every time I leave their side that they clearly know how I feel about them, because we truly don't know when will be the last time that we see somebody. And I want to leave that lasting impression on anybody that I care about, just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Yeah.
Life is too short.
Yeah. And then even still, like just making the people you love feel loved consistently.
Yeah. It's one of those things that like sometimes when you err on the side of caution and people are like, why are you so why are you so cautious about it? Why are you so worrisome? And it's like, it doesn't hurt anyone.
It doesn't.
To make sure that the people that you love know that you love them every time
Yeah.
you leave them.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think, and it is really just one small step too also. Like just a small...
like memento.
Yes, exactly. To
Yeah.
leave your people with and just be like, you know what? I'm just doing a little more extra effort to have a bigger outcome, because the regret, I can't imagine living with a regret.
Well, and then also just think in a long-term relationship too, like it kind of keeps that connection between the two of you, because it's so easy to just like passively say I love you, or passively just be like, okay, we're busy with our days and we're going and going and going. Like stopping and taking that moment throughout the day whenever you're leaving each other's side, like really connects you guys consistently.
100%.
Yeah.
And it keeps I think it almost reminds you to not say it so frivolously too. Because I think it is a beautiful point when you get to a relationship and like I love you is like saying like, hey, you know,
for sure.
like, hi, love
hey,
you,
love you,
bye.
bye.
You know, yeah. I think that is a wonderful place to get with people, you know, but I will say, when you're intentional about the goodbyes, I think it probably reminds you every single time you're doing it, like, oh no, I actually do love this person. I'm taking the time to express that to them.
And maybe it's not even always I love you. Maybe it's like, oh, like I appreciate you, or I care about you. Like, oh, like you're so handsome, or whatever that is. Like just remembering to like acknowledge your partner in different ways. And again, like leaving a lasting impression on the people you care about.
Yeah.
And it's not just partner either. Like I think about my mom a lot, and like I don't get to talk to her or see her as much as I can because she lives so far away. But when I do, like I want to make those intentions every time that we do speak, not knowing when I might lose my mom, or like when I will like crave those moments that like I have at my disposal at any moment today. Like when those are gone, like really like wishing I had those. So taking advantage of all of them. And even with our animals, I tell my cats every day, you're the cutest little baby in the world.
They're so sweet. They really are so sweet.
Yeah.
Objectively, they're beautiful
they're
cats.
the best.
But yeah, I think going about I think it's kind of like a gratitude thing. You know, we've talked about gratitude in episodes before. And I think when you are able to focus in on being in the moment, right? So because you have more of an awareness when you're like, okay, I want to live my life with making sure that my last words are meaningful and pointed. So then you go, okay. And even the grocery store clerk, you're like, have a good one. Have a nice day. You know, you're being very conscious about how you end every conversation or and any kind of, I don't know, scenario with someone.
Because that is the energy you're putting out in the world too, right? So you're choosing what you're serving the world with. And if it is love with everybody, like how can that be bad, no matter who that is?
Trust me, I'm a softie, so you don't have to
You
convince
and I
me.
are the same.
I know. I'm like, you do not have to convince me to be like, I love you to everyone. I'm like, I will do that to literally anyone. Okay, so I wanted to ask you and Neil, is it like a traditional thing? Like you say the same things every time, or do you change it up like you were saying?
No, I should. I actually just thought of that right now. Like normally it's like, okay, we love you, I love you, I love you. Like, and then sometimes we'll joke and I'll be like, I love you, I win, I said it more. But like, I actually think it probably would be more special at certain times to even interject other thoughts or ideas just to make sure he knows that I care about like all different aspects of him.
Yeah.
Not just his looks.
Not just. I mean, you said it. No, I because I'm thinking about you at the gym and you being like
like
checking him out as he's leaving, and you're like, I love your character.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're supposed to just keep it fresh. I think even your parents too, like you were saying, like, you know, I think about when I call my parents, you calling your mom, you being like, I appreciate how much you give me or like how much you've given me, those kinds of things. Cause it's true. After having a near death experience with my dad when I was so young, I think I get emotional all the time where I'm like, what if that was my last time seeing my dad? Especially if we get in a fight or something,
Totally,
you know, I think that's a lot of the time when it hits me. Like if I leave things not great with someone, which is so rare, but say something is like you have a falling out with a friend, you have a falling out, you get in a fight with your sister, and I can't relate, you have a hard time because you're like, you felt those feelings. Those are all valid feelings. Like you can feel disappointed by that person. You can feel let down. You can have anger with them. Like it's not like just do sunshine and rainbows. Like you can't like have with the people in your life. You can't have any kind of form of conflict, friction, anything. However, like I do think it is a extremely beneficial viewpoint to try and be like, you know what? You're fucking pissing me off right now, but you know I love you. I'll talk to you later. And I think that would be extremely helpful. And it would probably, like, if I was on the receiving end of that, I would probably, like, bust out laughing because I'd be like, okay, crazy, see you later, you know?
Okay, crazy.
But then it would be, I think it also determine, like, that at the end of the day, you know that they still, you know that they still, because I feel like a lot of people that have regret about their last words, it's because they didn't say, I love you that one last time. They didn't express to those people how much they meant to them.
She lost her husband to suicide, and it actually happened in the midst of them having a fight. And I think that really stuck really hard with her because it was like, of course, like she loves him, and to lose somebody in that manner, and then like the last moments you have, like you have so many memories of love, but like I feel like it's so hard to get over that hurdle of like that being the last interaction. And like, again, it's impossible not to fight with people, especially the people you're closest with.
Course.
And it's impossible to maybe not end some interactions in a negative way, but like trying, I think, our best to end every interaction in the way that we truly feel about somebody, not the way we feel in that moment.
Yes. Yeah. Because I can't imagine what your sister went through after that. Like I think, and to no fault of her own, right?
No,
like that the fight is not something that she should carry with her by any means. And it's not even something that she should, like, I understand if she does have regret in that way, but it's not like anyone's fault. It's just like, unfortunately, how the timing of it worked out. And I know she's not alone. There's so many people that have lived their entire life, you know, having great relationships. And then the day that they're in a tiff with someone, like something goes wrong. So I feel for her so deeply because I can't imagine that kind of pain. And you would be holding on to the beautiful memories, hopefully.
Well, and that's the thing that's so hard. And I don't know if anybody that's listening is struggling with that. Like if you've had that happen to you, and it's so easy to like hold on to that last moment when there is a whole entire breadth of what you've experienced with somebody that you have to like let that be like your momentum moving forward. Like my stepbrother passed away from cancer, and I actually don't remember like the last words I said to him because by the time that he was passing, like he wasn't able to like really communicate. But I do remember a conversation we had shortly there prior where he called me and we were talking about his medical problems and like what was going on and how the doctors weren't really helping. He didn't have great insurance, so they were kind of like not even returning phone calls. And I remember being on the phone with him. I'm like, this is your life and you have to fight for it.
Yeah.
You call them every day. You do what you have to. You annoy them until they give you the answers and the care that you need. Yeah. You keep pushing. And I remember that conversation so clearly. I was in my car driving and he was on speakerphone and he was bedridden already at that point. But like, he was like, you're right. I got to do this. And like, it was like, I remember that interaction. I don't remember my last words to him, but I was in the room when he did pass. And like, I remember that conversation stronger than anything that even happened the last day of his life. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was probably the most conscious he was probably towards the end as well.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
The most receptive.
Yeah.
And I hope you feel good about those words.
I do. I think that I like to believe that like he heard them and like he maybe was able to fight a little bit more because of it, but he did put up a good fight for a long time. Like he was sick for a while, but he fought really hard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's tragic, losing anyone, even if it's not necessarily their life. Obviously that's probably the hardest, someone actually passing on.
Yeah.
But I feel like
even losing friends.
Yeah. Like I think about friendships where, not friends at all with them anymore and going like, oh, what were those last like happy interactions? Yeah. And then what was the last like
straw?
Yeah. And yeah, just hearing about your brother, like I think about my grandma who like at the end of her life, we knew she was kind of passing soon. So anytime I had a conversation with her, by the end of it, I'm like holding back tears on them, like trying not to let her know I'm crying because I'm like, I don't want her to be like, she's crying again. And so I'd be like, yeah, Grandma, that's great. I'm so glad.
In that voice, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
She's like, what happened to her
voice?
She's
like, hello? She's like, one of my granddaughters in LA is not doing well. And I just remember, I think like towards the end, because she would just have like a shorter attention span. She had so many grandchildren, so many children. Yeah. Like I was just like, homegirl, the fact that she can remember everyone's like life and like what they're doing was like impeccable. And I remember her just being like, all right, dear, okay, I love you. And like kind of rushing me off. Which, but I remember I would always like make sure I asked her about some certain things and talk to her and stuff. And I feel really good about my last words to her, because it was such a like sweet, genuine conversation, but not everyone gets that. And,
do you remember what you said?
It was definitely, I love you. It was like, I love you. I hope I see you soon situation. And like her being like, telling me to visit, which I'm like, oh God, and it's hard, when you have family that's far away and you're like, oh, I want to visit. I get a week off of like work, and you're just like, and it doesn't mean that's not worth it. And it's so worth it. And, obviously if someone gave me the choice, I probably would go and see her instead of going on a vacation or anything like that. Like 100% knowing if I knew she was going to die, but, I remember her like joking about making me like hot dogs with sauerkraut. And she was like, I'm going to make those for you. I was like, let's go, babes. I was like, and I'll eat them. And even though that's sad, I didn't get to do that with her. Yeah. It's also still a very fond memory. And I feel like any time moving forward, if I have a hot dog with sauerkraut, I'm going to think of my grandma. Yeah. And like, what a lovely thing. Yeah. Absolutely. So it was like, again, those last words were something of the iteration of 100%. I love you. Can't wait to see you. Hope I see you soon. That kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine getting. I think about what you and Neil kind of first made this idea of like the rushed off the phone.
Yeah,
we're all so busy. I feel so fucked about it. I done it twice this week.
Oh, really?
Someone. Yes, this week I was talking to a man, and I rushed off the phone, and it wasn't even like, it was just because we're both busy and like, and I had to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, like really quick, and like got off the phone, and both times I was like, I feel like the biggest asshole, and not even because I really wasn't thinking like I'll never speak to him again, but I was just like that kind of. Not taking time with people that you really care about. Yeah. It's hard for me. Like, I feel extremely guilty. Like it's something that sits with me if I'm like, oh, I didn't give them enough of the time that I think they should be allotted and deserving, excuse me. So yeah, I remember just like even this week, it wasn't necessarily that full, like, oh, I need to tell him how I feel about him. But it was the like, oh, he deserves more.
Yeah.
He deserves a better closure than that.
Yeah.
And I think we fight against that all the time with this kind of like
Absolutely. This
capitalist, consumerist,
gotta do more, gotta keep going, gotta keep
we're
moving.
just like, and we're like, all right, I'll talk to you later, you know?
Yeah.
And even my mom, I get mad at my mom because she'll be like, oh, okay, honey, I'll talk to you. And I'm like, talk to me now. I am free. I'm like, what do you got going on? You know? And she has many things going on.
You're like, but I'm your priority. Number one,
just
I'm your child.
the baby.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you should be talking to me. And every day, you know? And so, and even that though, like but then I'll notice when my mom, like if I don't call her a day, she's like, what's wrong? Where'd you go?
Alive?
And the next day she's like, honey, we didn't talk.
Aww.
And I'm like, I know. How dare we let a day go by, you know? And that's kind of how you should live your life, I feel like.
Absolutely.
As much as you can.
As much as you can. Like we all know like there's limitations with timing and there are things that we have to do. I saw a reel recently where somebody was talking about how Cher said to them, if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it doesn't matter. And I was like, words to live by.
I love her.
Yeah.
She's one of my most quoted people in my life.
I
have an art piece right there that says, Mom, I am a rich man, which is one of my favorite Cher quotes. She's wonderful.
Yeah.
And she's right.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things. And my mom even alluded to that on our episode where she's like, life goes by so fast.
Yeah.
Like it's like I can hear my mom saying it. It's so sweet. It makes me emotional. But she was just like, enjoy it. Like you just gotta nothing matters too much. Nothing is so astronomical that like you
can't move past it or like I think you have to prioritize, right? Mm-hmm. You have to think like if this is a person in your life and their priority and they sacrifice for you and they give their time to you, then they're higher on the tier than somebody that's like lower on the tier. Not that you have to do that, but like you kind of do because you have to like limit your time in certain factors.
Yeah, totally.
And then give that time and that attention to the people that matter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other conversation that we could talk about is like time management within your group because your girl struggles. Because I want to give all my time to all the people I love. Yeah. And I try to do that. And I do think I do it well considering how little time I have like to myself, I feel like, or like free time, so to speak. But that's sometimes that almost hinders you because I've been in the boat and I know you've done this too. Like I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but like me and you sometimes are like two birds, one stone. Yeah. Like let me get my nails done with my friend because like, you know,
I can do it. Yeah,
exactly.
I can do it all. Don't worry.
Exactly. I'm juggling all the things, you know, and it's a really great thing to try and be like, okay, I have to get these tasks done. Yeah. Could I do them with someone I care about? Yeah. So it doesn't, like I'm still getting quality time with them. And that's I think it's a great benefit of ours. But sometimes like we've talked about it too, where we're like, we just need to just chill and sit sometimes because it's like, even when we're getting those things, getting dinner and all that stuff, and thankfully we can like actually debrief during like a dinner or something like that. But sometimes when me and you are running errands or we're calling because we're both doing stuff, it's like we get the information that's needed, but we don't get the like quality time like star, right? And I think like I do that with all my friends. I do that with my family too. I'm like, oh, when can I see them? When can I get them in? You know. And a lot of the time I'm like, wrong priority. Like, you know, like put them first. And then obviously if you can coincide them, amazing. But like the priority is to spend the time with the people you love as much as you can and make sure that they know that. Yeah. So go ahead.
I actually have a question for you. So we've talked about last words and the factor of like the people we love, like losing people we care about. What about the impact that last words can have on relationships you're ending?
Yeah, that's a really great question. It's hard. I've been on the receiving end of like having some tough words where you're like, ooh,
ouch. Yeah.
Wow. That's going to be my nightmares for the rest of my life. And I've also had a partner come back, my longest term partner. I remember he direct quoted me and I was like, sorry I said that. But I was like, And it's, again, I didn't not stand by the words that I had said, but it was very impactful. Like the last words that I had said to him, some of the last words when we were breaking up our 4-year-long relationship was like something to the iteration of, could I have stayed and been very happy? Yes. But would I have been as happy as I think I can be? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
And that was me trying to let him in to like know that like
You're
I've
not
enjoyed
bad.
my
Yeah.
time with him. I loved him so
Yeah.
deeply. That was never like
In question.
that was not
Yeah.
like, it wasn't for nothing, you know,
Yeah.
but it was, however, I have to choose myself and my
Yeah.
happiness moving forward, because I could be satisfied, but I wouldn't be like my optimal relationship. And he said that was when he knew we weren't getting back together.
Wow.
Yeah. He was like, cause I thought, you know, like
Yeah.
if we talk more, you know, like maybe she's just having like a hard time. Like this is coming out of nowhere, you know? And he was like,
Yeah.
and not until you said that, he was like, that shut me.
This is done.
Shut
yeah.
me up. And he was like,
Wow.
and that really, and he was like, and it was hard for me to swallow that I couldn't give you that life. And I was like, and that's where I was like, it wasn't about you. Like it was
Yeah.
more about our dynamic as a relationship. But yeah, those are last words that I
Yeah.
was like, woo, Maddie, you that was like it wasn't
No, I'm
meant
kidding.
it wasn't meant to be
Yeah.
a zinger, but it felt like, you know,
But you
and
know,
I-
like
and I
people grow
understand.
from those words as well
Yes.
sometimes. Like
yeah,
it sounds like he took that in and he was like, okay, like I have to better myself as a partner, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And on the receiving end too, like I think about my last relationship that we've talked about on the podcast before, of the man that cheated on me and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And I remember going back to him after we had broken up and we were exchanging our stuff. I was getting all my shit back.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, it's not sitting well with me. Are you sure there's nothing else going on? Like, are you sure? And like to think that like that man can like look you in the
Dead
eyes
in the
and be
face.
like,
No.
no, it's not that at all. And I remember just being like I don't believe him, but I have to.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I've trusted him the entirety of our relationship, and I had no proof.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, that's it. And then so to know those last words after I'd found everything out, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, you motherfucker, you know. But then I got my own last words in. That's true. After that, I think my last direct quote to him that he probably heard me say was, "You're a heinous human." So.
Maybe we should put that on a board and send it to him.
A plaque. So it's like, you know, you get yours, hopefully.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think those are the things that I think about as far as last words that have
Yeah.
like impacted me in my life as far as like relationship endings. And that's obviously strictly romantic relationship.
Yeah.
What about you?
I can't think of any particular ones. Like when I was talking to Neil about this episode, he asked me what my last words were to my toxic ex. And I was like, I can't think of like anything that was like the poignant like last words to him, because there were so many times I allowed him to come in and out anyway. I was like, but then also there comes a point where there's certain people that you can't have last words with. You have to just shut them out of your life. And like, you have to like, and I talked to him a lot about like how like the no contact rule that like I read a lot about when I was researching this afterwards.
Especially dating a narcissist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you can't have contact because that allows open doors to let them keep coming in and out. But I was thinking about my mom in like last words that I felt were super impactful, because my mom, when we were younger, was dating a man for a decade. And
Just a quick 10
short period
years.
of time.
Yeah.
No big deal. And this man was huge in our lives. Like I used to say, like, this man would walk me down the aisle, like, and that this was going to be like, I looked at him like a father figure. He came into our lives when I was, I think a sophomore in high school, and he was with my mom well into my late 20s. And we looked at him as family. He was in the military. He was in, I still don't even know if this is true. He was in special forces, so he was gone a lot. He was calling from other countries. It was probably the only time I think I've ever seen my mom truly, truly in love, whenever they were together. And we always looked forward to him coming. We always looked forward to him like being there with us. But we just kept waiting until the military was over and like he was going to be able to like join our family and so on and so forth. And when I first moved to LA, I worked at a mortgage industry, in the mortgage industry, and I was able to QC files. So I had access to a lot of different programs that you could like look different things up. And we started questioning 10 years later, like, maybe this isn't true.
Maybe it's not legitimate. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I started doing some reverse like lookups on his cell phone number that led to a home phone number, that led to a home address, that led to a list of his wife and his kids. And and so that at the time I told my mom what was happening. She confronted him. He, of course, denied it. And then he just disappeared. After 10 years, he went away.
As they do.
Yeah. I mean.
As they do. They're like, let's go. Yeah.
And so she never had the time to say anything to him. And she, like, at that time had such a hard time, like, because she wasn't able to yell at him. She wasn't able to get answers. Like, there was no clarity on what had happened, why he would do this. He just disappeared.
Yeah.
And then not too long ago, a couple years ago, my mom works at the airport, and she's walking through the airport, and she sees the back of him, and she walks up to him, and she says, I'll say his name, James. James Williams.
Wow. Fuck yeah.
And he turns around, he goes, oh, I didn't think you would still work here. And she looks him dead in the eyes, and she goes, I can't believe you had the balls to come back here, and then walks away. I was like, fucking mic drop.
Yeah,
like, and
dude.
just said nothing else, just
Last
walked
words.
away.
She said, I know a thing or two about last words. Oh my God.
Yeah. And she called me and she was like, you'll never believe who I just saw. And I was like, oh. And he's one of those people too that I think about all the time. Like, I think about what I would say to him if I ever saw him again, because he was such a huge part of our lives. And like, he just disappeared and became this entirely different person that you never thought he would be.
Yeah, because at that point, once the jig is up, they're like,
yeah.
Hi, you know, you're like.
And then my mom said one time, like, she was literally like signing into her computer, and for some reason, AIM popped up, and it was logged into his AIM, and she saw all these messages from all these different women from like around the country. Yeah. So
Nope.
there's that.
Yeah. So in that way, like, I'm glad your mom got some last words.
I am too. I feel like that was such a pinnacle moment for her.
Yeah.
And for her, because like she could have easily just like saw him and like got scared, walked away. Like to have that power and to take that power, like those last words can be your power too. They can give you that moment to say like, no, this wasn't right. This is what you need to know moving forward. Or I knew and you didn't think I knew. Like those last words can be used for love. They can be for power. They can be used for silence. Like it really is whatever the situation calls for and for what the person calls for.
100%.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I think about people that I have some choice words for, most of them are like friends, exes. Most of them are people that I'm like, fucking fight me, bitch. You know?
It's going to be the title of her memoirs.
Yeah, right? I'm like, I dare you. Yeah, and it's like all the people that have hurt my people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I even the other day, weirdly enough, was driving in Hollywood, and I thought I saw one of my sister's ex-boyfriends. And no tea, no shade. Like, I don't have any beef with him, you know? But I was like, huh. Like, when you see those people, do you say hi? Do you say, and I was like, it would feel really weird. This man spent years with our family. Like, it would feel weird to just not be like, hey, you know, and not wish them well, you know, at that point. But I'm like, there's a lot of people that I'm like, I can think of that have dated you, have dated Mac, have dated Noah, that I'm like, like, I'm like, not a knuckle sandwich, but I'm
think
like,
about sometimes if I ever ran into
Nick. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, dude. I didn't say his last name.
We're coming for you.
Yeah, I didn't say his last name. But it's true. Like, I'm like, if you did.
Yeah. I would have so many words.
Yeah.
So many words.
And it's funny because I don't have any more words left.
Yeah.
I'm like.
That's fine. I got you.
I'm like, I'm chilling. I'm thriving, actually.
She is.
But I'm like, we're all good here.
Yeah.
However, yeah, I think that protective, like even your mom, like I don't know what fucking James looks like, but I'm like, if I had the opportunity, if it was like, here's a firing squad, not a firing squad, but like, but like a lineup of people that have done your people wrong, I'd be like, ooh, let's go. Fuck you. Like, I tried to be as classy as I could be because I know I'm
class goes out the window at certain points.
Yes, and I'm talking a huge game right now. I'm a pacifist through and
you're
through.
the kindest person in the world. I think we all are, but I think it's fine to like talk about these things and release some of that energy.
100%.
Even though we know in like true in real life we would never purposefully
I wouldn't
hurt
start
anybody.
a fight ever.
Yeah.
But I do think I would say certain things.
Yeah.
I think I would come up to certain people, or I would, at the very least, mad dog them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like here, I think what's wrong with the truth, right? If somebody did something that was heinous, that was horrible, that did speak to their character, and this is my viewpoint, and this is what I'm going to tell you, hopefully this helps you. Hopefully you grow from this. Hopefully you move forward and become a better person. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
That's not like, I think it's more so like the name calling. Like if I was to go in somebody's face and like, you're a this, you're a that, you're like that, nobody's going to grow from that.
Especially like going for their like looks or something. You know, it's like we don't need to get into
stuff.
Yeah. It's like we can talk about it, but I'm like, we don't need to like
I'll make note of it.
Like we all know, but we don't have to publicly say it. Especially all of my friends' exes. I'm like, I got ammo, babes. I got ammo. Dare me. Like, let me know.
Yeah.
It feels very reminiscent of the Charlotte Mr.
Yes,
Big. You know, I'm like, I rue the day you were born. You know, like, I'm like, that kind of vibe is how I feel like about all of my peoples.
Completely.
Like, people that have fucked over my people.
Yeah.
And I feel like I don't think there's anyone. Yeah, I don't think actively right now I have anyone that I'm like, I didn't get that closure last words with.
I don't think so either. I think there's been friends in my life that I had to like let go of, that I had to like, similar sort of thing where it's like I didn't say like goodbye. I was just like, okay, this is just done.
Yeah.
You've hit like a certain point. But there's nothing like that I feel has been left unsaid with anybody in my life. Yeah. Although I would love to say something to James in his face.
That part. Hey. Yeah, it's funny that you say that because a friendship breakup that I went through, because those happen very rarely.
And they're tough.
They are very, very tough. And we've talked about that. It's like losing a romantic partner sometimes, because you're so caught up and you've shared a life, like a version of your life, right?
Yeah.
And the latest friendship breakup, we didn't have closure when we like had broken up, right? As friends. Like when we stopped being friends, it kind of just fizzled. And I was like, oh, hurt. That's very loud. And that was really hurtful for me, because I was like, oh, wow, I've given so much to this friendship and you're acting like
it's nothing.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh, that's telling enough that I don't need to be friends with you anymore. It's just really sad that after a year or something of this friendship, now it's nothing.
Yeah.
But then that person had come back a couple of times, and the first couple times that they'd come back, it was just cordial. It was very like, no, don't worry about it. Like, not even don't worry about it, but I was just like, we're good. Like, thanks. Like, no, we don't have to talk about it, you know? And they had, at one point, months after the friendship breakup, had offered to be like, let's get some closure. I'd like to talk to you about it. And I was like, no, because at that point I was like, I knew it would be entirely to their benefit. I was like, I've gotten my closure.
Yeah.
I've gone to therapy.
Yeah.
I've talked about all of the reasons, you know? And then the most recent one was them telling me that they unfollowed me on Instagram. and I understood why they did that, because it comes off as a petty thing. And like, I think I noticed it too, like when it was gone, happened, you know? And so it was one of those things that I was like, oh, weird. Like, why would you remove me now? But like, well, fucking okay. Yeah. But then the like double down of being like, I just wanted to let you know I unfollowed you because it's too painful for me and all this stuff. And I'm like, have that space for you. Yeah. And then
it almost feels tactical at the same time though.
Yeah. But then I was like, I don't need to respond to this.
No.
And they even said, thankfully, they in the like message had been like, you don't have to respond. And I was like, thanks. Sick. Awesome. Then I won't, because I have nothing left to say to you. And that was where silence was like, and I'm rarely a person that takes silence as my like last final words. Yeah. But I was like, that was the smartest decision for me. That was the thing that like gave me the most peace, and like maybe that didn't give her the most peace. And in many ways, like obviously the best case scenario would for both of us to have that peace and be able to walk away. But I was like, after what you've done, like I don't think I owe you that. You know, what I owe you is your like respect, and not like tarnishing your name or doing anything like making this a bigger deal than it needs to be.
Yeah.
But also I need to protect my peace, and protecting my peace means not responding to you.
Yeah. I love that. I think that that's such a big thing. I think the protection of peace is, it is okay to have like silence.
Yeah.
It is okay. Like I don't think this, I hope nobody's taking this episode of like, you have to say something. You have to have those words. Like there are certain people that you have to be silent with.
Yeah. 100%.
What's that phrase again? It's something about arguing with fools. It's never argue with a fool because bystanders won't be able to tell the difference.
That part.
And you'll never convince the fool.
Yeah.
And that's truly it. Like that's why silence is necessary sometimes, because you're wasting your breath.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just have to walk away.
And to your point, and to the quote's point, like you're just perpetuating this
Yeah.
like chaos and this like non-conducive relationship.
Absolutely.
And it's only bringing you stress, and it's only bringing you pain, and like they might be getting off on it.
Yeah.
So like honestly,
yeah,
I thought about
absolutely.
that a lot with my
Yeah.
ex, where I was like, and this friend that we were talking about, like I'm like, she loves drama. She loves being the victim. Like that's, so it's like they do love it.
Yeah.
When you're going like, you did this, and then they can go like, they never cared about
Yeah,
me. They never
exactly.
did this. And you're just like,
Yeah.
no, like you're not listening. And
Well, and I think that's why your therapist even said, like, do you have to talk to him? Because you're never going to get the response that
No.
you deserve and that you would want.
no, not at all. Yeah. My therapist really, she pushed that one home. She drove that one all the way to the bank.
You're like, I got it.
Yeah. She was like,
Yeah.
do you really need to? And I was like, you know what?
I don't.
I do, but no, I
Yeah.
don't, because you've been a great therapist, and thank you so much. And I was like, yeah, I've learned that I didn't. And honestly, after I put it down,
Yeah.
and any of those relationships that were like non-conducive to me, to my peace and my protection of my sanity, go figure, I felt 10 times better.
Love
you
that.
know,
Yeah.
It does. It's hard. It's definitely a learning curve, and it is hard. There's a hard where you just feel hopeless, and you feel like maybe I'm not getting the opportunity I deserve to get the closure I want. But ultimately, that's a stronger form of closure than this like runaround that you can put yourself through.
And sometimes maybe even the last words you have to leave somebody is just writing it out by yourself and saying like, this is what I would have said, but they wouldn't have heard it. But like this, what now I release it.
I totally agree with like writing a letter to yourself, writing it
Yeah.
all, just putting all the fucking feelings on a page.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. And honestly, like, I think sometimes when those people that are toxic or are perpetuating this like narrative that they're the victim, and when you really walk away, and maybe they can spin it and be like, "Ah, she did me so wrong," or whatever, you know. But I think it's the louder one to them, because they're so used to people fucking buying into this and like getting caught in that cycle. That's what they want you to do, especially narcissists. So when you don't give into that and you're like, I got to protect me. It's much louder to them.
Absolutely.
I think they go like, oh, and then that's when I do think they disappear, because they know that they don't have any hold over you anymore.
That part.
Might I say. But I wanted to say, we've talked about last words, and like obviously both you and I are going to be such little sentimental babies and move around. I know that for the next 5 weeks, both me and you are going to be like, I love you so much. Yeah. But I wanted to say, do you have any last words for the listeners? Say like, this was our last episode that we ever did. I know. Hopefully it's not. Do you have any last words for the listeners? Or
I would just say thank you so much for listening, watching, the messages we've received, the responses of people telling us that we have positively touched them and affected them. Like, they've meant more to us than you guys could ever know. And we'll take that with us wherever we go in life. And we truly, truly thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I co-sign. I really do. I think also this is, I was speaking on this recently, because a lot of people are like, how long have you guys been doing this? And I'm like, we're just at about a year. We're a couple weeks shy of a year. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, it's taught me a lot. And it's taught me that I could do it too. Like, I think the most common thing that we heard, besides all of the amazing, such supportive comments that were so sweet and specific to you and I think we heard a lot of like, I can't believe you got, like, that's awesome. I've always wanted to start a podcast. Or, you know, like I almost started a podcast and then, you know, and I think just taking the leap and doing it and like say we never do this again. Yeah. That's not hopefully the case, but yeah, it won't. But like, God forbid something happened and our audio equipment was outlawed, you know, something like that, then, you know, I am so glad that we proved to ourselves that we could do this, and we took a leap of faith, and we believed in ourselves, and we put money and effort and time behind something that we really wanted to do and just wanted to do, you know. And yeah, I thank you all for being a part of it. It means so much to me. And come back. Come listen to more episodes.
We will be back. This isn't goodbye.
This is not goodbye. These last words. I know that came off like an Oscar speech. No. But
I'm like,
yeah, it's like they're playing the music off. They're like, wrap it up. But thank you all. Thank you so much. I'll let Ruth wrap us up.
No, yeah. I mean, as you know, I love you.
I love you.
I just want you to always know.
I'm like grabbing the crowd.
We want to grab our stage and ourselves.
But I do love you. I do love you.
I love you too.
I love
her. But just to wrap us up, just remember to let the people in your lives know that you care about them. You never know when it'll be the last time. If you've lost somebody and those last words weren't exactly what you wanted, remember also the breath of life that you guys had together. And then also remember it's okay to walk away. So that is our message to you. We hope you guys are happy and healthy. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. And we will see you next week on Femme Tell All.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.